Hello and welcome to the CDAO magazine interview series. I'm Jake Dreier with Hilabs, and we are partnering with CDAO magazine and MIT CDAO IQ and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in an interview series. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Zoher Karu, who is the Chief Data and Analytics Officer at Blue Shield of California. Zoher, welcome.
Thank you, Jake.
So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on in this drive to create a single source of truth. You know, what are the challenges that organizations face from a change management perspective in rethinking some of these older, antiquated data strategies where data was completely siloed? We didn't have a complete picture of an individual patient. So I'd love to hear. What are the challenges in driving this change, and then we'd love to hear how you and your team have navigated these issues to be successful.
Yeah, for sure. There are no shortage of challenges. I think the theme is that data really is a strategic asset that is used company-wide, right? Many people use kind of the bare minimum of data it takes to solve the problem right in front of them. And the marketing person does this, and the call center person does that, and the claims operation person does that. And the truth is, many of them, none of them have kind of a complete view, if you will, and they may be solving for the same thing multiple times as well, right? And so I think there just needs to be a recognition that the data that I'm getting from when somebody calls the call center might be useful for me to just get this person off the phone and solve their problem. But the data might also be useful to somebody else, like, the people looking at cost of healthcare and the people looking at marketing and the people looking at anything else, right? And so the change management required and the data mentality required is that data is actually everybody's job, right? And so, and not just this one team in the corner, if you will. An example from my past life, I asked somebody once, I'm like, could you please tell me how many loans were sold in Malaysia yesterday? Apparently, the challenging part of that sentence was the word yesterday because it only comes out in a monthly report, which, okay, fine. So people went out and manually found the answer. Okay, whatever, 57 loans sold yesterday in Malaysia. I'm like, great. Now give it to me by time of day. They're like, what? Time of day? We didn't record time of day. And I'm like, well, because to pay a salesperson their commission, they don't need time of day, right? But marketing would care, call center would care, other people would care. So you have to take a step back and basically take your blinders off and think about how can I best understand what's going on here, and how do I think about this from an enterprise platform perspective, not just one area. I mean, a different example, in the world of eBay, we were trying to, of course, market to customers in a more personalized way. We were also trying to service them through support channels like call center. You want to do things like market to our highest value customers a particular way, and you want to service our highest value customers, a certain way, like route them to a special set of agents, for example. Both organizations do not need to recompute who a high value customer is. There is only one answer, right? And so if you just think about taking, an organizational wide perspective, that same pieces of information can have multiple uses, right? Mm-hmm. And so, the old habits you need to shake off are, it's bigger than just the problem in front of you, right? And let's get to single source of truth, not, well, my version, because I joined together a few things and put it on my hard drive. Let's get to one version that everybody can use from an enterprise standpoint.
I really, first of all, I love your metaphors. I love them because, again, when we're dealing with something like data, it can be difficult for people to wrap their brain around these concepts. So I appreciate that. And I also really loved your quote, data is everybody's job. And I think that is true in lots of industries, but especially in healthcare. And so, I'd love to hear from you. What does it mean to build a team when data is everybody's job? What does it mean to build a team where people are required to have these data skills and wear these multiple hats?
Yeah.
And then, well, I've got a follow-up question to that, but I'll let you respond before I jump into that.
So you're right. It is a challenge to piece together the different parts of the team. I am aware of like some other companies that have done things like, well, I hired a bunch of data scientists, but we're still not getting any value. What's going on, right? Mm-hmm. And the truth is, while data scientists are necessary, they're not the whole picture, right? By any means. And you need to think about how this set of folks are going to be able to solve the problem holistically, which requires a set of skills, and I'll mention some of them, as well as interface into some of the business stakeholders. And one of the key roles you need on a data analytics team is this interface role or translator role, or there are many words for it, but the people who can go to the staff meeting of this chief marketing officer, understand those business problems, and translate them back into an analytical approach, right? Mm-hmm. The antiquated methods are, hey, Mr. or Mrs. CMO, could you please write down your requirements and then I'll maybe get to you, right? So they don't know what the requirements are. They know what the business problem is. They don't know how to translate that business problem into, okay, we're going to need to build this predictive model, and then we can power, these data sets on these dashboards and this one. Like they don't know that, nor do they need to know. What they need to be able to do is articulate the business problem. But if they throw the ball, we have to catch the ball, right? And so who is going to figure out how to translate that into the analytical needs you need, as opposed to, okay, I need these 3 columns of data. Could you please send them to me, right? And so that is one key role on the team. So you need these interface roles. You also need, of course, specialists. You need the statistician. You need the Tableau designer. You need the data scientist that can code, the algorithm. You need the analytics person who can think about how to break that problem down. Like, why am I seeing a decrease in satisfaction among this member population in this county in LA? That's an analytical problem, right? You need to know how to be able to dissect that down and figure out what's going on. So you need a blend of these skills. I mean, the way I would phrase it is, look, it's like a big engine, and you can have lots of gears in the engine, okay? But if the gears don't touch each other, the engine doesn't move, okay? Nothing moves. Like you need people who can interface with and talk to all different parts. Like on my team, I need people who understand marketing. They may not be the expert in marketing, but they can go have a conversation about marketing, right? So it's like the chief marketing officer majors in marketing, they can minor in data and analytics. We major in data and analytics, but we minor in marketing. And because of that, we can actually talk to each other and have a conversation about how to work together, right? But if we're just, I'm going to send I can hire the best statistician in the world and send them to, go to this business meeting with the head of the provider networks, they may or may not be able to have that conversation, right? Because they just don't understand, they're not speaking the same language. And so it's a long answer to your question but the team requires a blend and a portfolio of skill sets. And one of the most important set of skills is that interface layer of like, who is going to talk to this team and how are we going to work with the rest of the organization?
Well, once again, with great metaphors, I love that engine metaphor. So I'm actually going to use that to frame my next question. So forgive me if I get too lost in the metaphor. You can let me know. But with the fact that you said that data literacy is important at every level, right? Yep. We, as organizations working together with this engine, the engine looks different than it did 10 years ago, right? In order to get these pieces together, the engine that an organization, a healthcare organization, had a decade ago is different. We're working with new engines. And so I would love to hear how, within the healthcare sector and within Blue Cross of California, how has the engine changed? What does it mean for day-to-day operations at every level of the organization, from patients to physicians? What are the implications for those different stakeholders in this new engine that we're seeing in the space.
Yeah, and just to continue on the engine analogy, I mean, we are definitely on the road to moving from just a data warehouse to a data engine. We're not just taking data, storing it on the shelf, and maybe we'll go get it every once in a while, but we're trying to move towards data as an engine powering the business. And related to that is data is not, you can tell if you've changed as an organization and becoming data driven if you've gone from data checking your decision to data making your decision, right? And so are you looking at the monthly report every once in a while and sort of glancing at how you're doing, or are you actually using information on a regular basis to help you make the decisions you make as part of your daily job? And one way of enabling that is to drive kind of a data democratization agenda, right? A data and insights democratization agenda, and put that information and insights in people's hands at their fingertips throughout the enterprise. Because if every time somebody in the enterprise needs some information, they have to ask my team, we're never going to become a data-driven company, right? We need to be able, and the straightforward stuff you should be able to handle and get yourself. The more complex stuff, yes, we can help you and we will partner with you and get to, but not some of the base. And dashboards are an easy way to make that information available, right? And so how do we make that information available to you at your fingertips so that you can do your job? Like, how's my marketing doing? How's my cost of healthcare doing? How's my call center doing? You should be able to look at it. Now, the key in being able to drive this data democratization agenda is that you need to get in the minds of the user and understand what information do they need? There are 1,000 ways to show the exact same information. So the art of this is to show it in a way that makes the answer jump off the page, right? Whenever, you can tell a poorly designed dashboard from a better designed one, just from like how easy it is to get the answers you want. And that's because the person who designed it really thought about what you actually cared about and made it as easy as possible for you to get that. And that always leads to a second question. And the answer to the second question should be like one click away. And you can never anticipate every possible question, but you can anticipate the first couple, right? And so really thinking through that is critical. And I always measured success of any of these data democratization efforts by usage. If people were not using it, that's either because it was too hard to use or it didn't have what they wanted. And so you can drive it down, you can marry it with the HR log so you know which department's using it and which one's not, which seniority level is using it, which one's not. And so really trying to think through and uncover what's going on, because you want people to be data-driven in their decision-making, and you have to make it as easy as possible for them. If you can do that, it frees up oxygen for analytics, I'll call it, which is I don't have to spend all my time chasing down and retrieving data to answer this basic stuff. I can help you with the harder problems of like, what is the optimal number of days to contact a member discharged from the hospital after they left? Is it 2 days, 6 days? Like, how do I think about that, right? And so that's an analytical problem, and one that's harder than, could you just show me the trend of something, right? And so let's make the easy problems more automated and democratized, and let's make the harder problems, more specialized, right? Is the way I would approach it.
Zoher, thank you so much for joining us today. Your data insight and perspective is really valuable. You've given me a lot of different ways to think about this, and I'm sure you have for the listeners as well. And so for the listeners, please visit cdomagazine.tech for any additional interviews you'd like to watch. But most importantly, Zoher, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it.